All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Big Fry, and I've had a lot of people ask me to give my opinions on the newest update for Greyzone Warfare titled Winds of War. It's their 0.3 update that brings in a lot of different features to the game, and I'll be honest, from all the conversations I'm seeing from the developers and articles being written, this is the turning point for Greyzone Warfare. They're no longer wanting to call this game an extraction shooter. They're calling it a tactical MMO FPS with emphasis on PvP and faction warfare engagements over focusing on the PvE side of things. With this update, it brings in a new combat outpost system, or COPS, that as faction members, you can go out, you can capture a COP, and you can control it, which gives you access to, it's essentially a forward operating base. So while you're out in the field doing quests and completing missions, you can, instead of having to go all the way back to base to hand in tasks, to grab, to go and restock at a vendor, if you control a close by COP, you can just go there and essentially it functions the same as if you were back at HQ. So it keeps you out in the field longer, it keeps you moving around the map a lot more often, and it gets rid of all of the downtime that players were finding riding helicopters back and forth. It's a lot more tight-knit, and there's a lot more areas of operation, and the cool thing about it is it creates a lot more PvP scenarios, because a rival faction can go close to your main HQ and start capping all of the cops that you guys have, and then you have to fight over that to control those, and it creates a more PvP-centric environment for the player. Now, I had a chance to play this update over the weekend and kind of get my thoughts on the current state of Greyzone Warfare with this update. I want to preface this by saying this is not sponsored, and I also want to preface this by saying the update that we were able to play, we were given boosted accounts with a ton of gear, a ton of money, so it created a PvP-centric scenario where we could just go to a COP, spend money, re-kit out, get, the best helmets, the best night vision, the best guns, all the ammo we needed, and go back out. They created a PvP-centric experience for content creators to show off. I say this to say, I don't know how this is going to feel when the update comes out. There was no sense of like having to grind missions, level up, and do any of that stuff. We were just basically given everything to experience what this COP system is like. And I gotta say, I fucking hated it. Like, I'm just gonna be completely honest. At endgame, with a bunch of content creators that are looking to create PvP-centric content and talk about this new update, it felt like I was playing a very, very large-scale battlefield conquest. We would capture a COP point, we would move on to the next one, and by the time we got to the next one, there was an enemy faction that was grabbing the one that we just did, so it just became, we're just running back and forth between these COPs, capping points, killing players, and that is really about it. The gameplay loop, I don't think, works with the way that Greyzone has been promoted as a persistent, long-term game where you're in the world. There's no like extracting and going back to the main menu. You basically just go back to either a COP or your main HQ. But it just felt like they wanted to really promote PvP engagements without actually thinking about the longevity of what it means to capture these points. One of my main criticisms here is that if I capture a COP with 4 or 5 of my faction members and we're there and we establish a line of defense, AI spawn there and they're easily taken out by a rival faction, and then we can just lose that point like nothing. I wish that the developers would make it like, if this gets captured, there is a cooldown for being able to attack and take the point back. So at the very least, it feels like your captures actually mean something and you're actually establishing a foothold in the region. There needs to be some sort of cooldown system so that it's not just back and forth capture the flag like it is right now. Like I said, this is me going off of a test that isn't really indicative of what the update is going to be like, or maybe it is, we just don't know yet. Another major issue that we ran into, the developers were all in my chat watching this happen live. They claim that it's a bug, but I actually think that this is just something that was completely missed on the design of how this gameplay mode works. When you go to capture one of these cops, there is a computer in the middle of the area that you click, and it takes about 8 to 10 seconds to capture the point for your team. The problem is if you walk in there with like 5 or 6 of your fellow faction members, they can just keep spawning there, you know, and you have to obviously get to the computer. But what we ran into was we were approaching a point in which I saw a couple of AI kind of walking outside, and then people just spawned there with knives, ran up to us, and just chopped us down. They were just little Bambis with hatchets from Tarkov running through the forest in the middle of the night, knifing us, and we spawn at the closest cop, we move back there, and then they just keep spawning and spawning until you run out of ammo and there's nothing you can do. You have to be able to make it to the computer. And even then, like, if you're in the area, I feel like it should prompt like, this point is being attacked, and you're not able to spawn directly on the fucking point. It's funny, I make the comparisons to it feeling like Conquest from Battlefield. Battlefield doesn't even do that. You're not able to spawn on the point that's currently being attacked. So I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if it's just an oversight of design, but like, I don't know, man. I was playing the update and I was just like feeling very directionless from the development team. Like, they have this system, it's a PvP centric system, they're changing direction, but every step of the way as we were playing through it, I was sitting here thinking like, oh, it just didn't seem like you really thought this one out. It feels more like Battlefield than something that like you'd actually want persistent long-term, you know, kind of gameplay with. That didn't feel like they really thought that out. And then the being able to spawn in the points, it didn't really feel like they thought that out. It feels kind of half-cocked from the dev team. Now, some things I do like about this game right now is the fact that performance seems to be a lot better across the board for everybody who was in this test. One thing I did notice, the major performance issue, is if you're injured and you're using the picture-in-picture and scopes, my performance was tanking from over 100 FPS down to under 30 when I have that injured like post-process effect on my screen while using the scope picture-in-picture system. It essentially became unfucking playable. But other than that, I never ran into a lot of performance issues. I was obviously having to use DLSS. You do notice a lot of the times when you're looking at the foliage long range, there are a lot of, again, those generated frames, and you can see it, and it kind of muddies the visuals a little bit. But for the most part, I'm happy that I can run this game at around like 90 to 110 FPS consistently, which is something I couldn't say before. So the performance is getting better as time goes on. I also really enjoy the weather system that they have in the game. Watching it go from sunny to cloudy, foggy, and then rain, it looks fucking incredible. Greyzone is one of the best looking FPSs on the market still, and I think it looks good. Now, this is the first time that I've been exposed to the day-night cycle in this game. I never even played the last patch. The day-night cycle didn't do anything to move the needle for me. I will say the fact that nighttime lasts an hour on the server and the nods, the night vision goggles that they have in the game right now are absolute fucking ass. It created an experience that I just didn't want to fucking play. And when I bring that up in the stream and I talk about it, I get hit with the, yeah, but it's realistic. Real night vision doesn't really, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, I get it. Realism is something that these developers definitely want to chase. Totally understand. I think there needs to start being a conversation about realism in video games versus actual like usability, viability, and gameplay over realism discussions. Because in this game, it is dark as fuck for an hour at a time. Nighttime lasts an hour real time, which means you're either running around in the dark in the forest or you're using night vision that are essentially unusable. The nighttime experience for me, and what I want out of an experience like this, is it's honestly just really, really fucking bad. Now, the one thing I did like that they added was the armband system. So your faction now has armbands that you can identify when you're looking through scopes long range. If you're looking at an enemy, they don't have any armbands on at all, so you know they're an enemy and you can take them out easier. I like that identifier because it helps in engagements. However, I do think we have a compass at the top of our screen. This is just a suggestion. I would love it if when I invited people to a squad, you can have 4 people in a squad, if you could have the green dots on your compass at the top of your screen. So if you're moving in formation and somebody crosses over to your left, you can at the very least keep a little bit of track on your own squad who is around you. So I know that suggestion is going to be roasted by the realism crowd. I do feel Like, these games need a little bit of that quality of life to make them more functional and more playable and allow players to execute at a higher level, especially if you're now wanting to focus more on direct PvP. There needs to be more. The amount of times I have seen somebody shoot a teammate, even with the armbands, even with being able to open your map and look on screen, the amount of team kills in this game is still insanely high. And I get that you want to strive for a level of realism that a lot of other games don't hit. When it starts to impact gameplay, that's when I have a problem with it. But at the end of the day, the developers have their vision, and I know they do not share that same vision with me, but I don't give a fuck. A lot of people have been asking my thoughts on the game. Those are my thoughts. I love the guys at Madfinger Games. I think they're doing a great job working on this game. That being said, I think that they didn't even fully flesh out the cop system on paper. I don't think they designed it in a way that fits within the design philosophy that is Greyzone warfare. If when you capture one of these cops, it actually is impactful and meaningful and means a lot for your team and establishes a foothold in a region and has a cooldown to where you can attack it or make the defenses way harder to actually attack. So when you do take one of these points, it actually fucking means something, because right now it feels like you're playing Battlefield, which I think directly contradicts the original vision that Greyzone Warfare had for the game. They wanted no raid timers so that the persistence of the world is you can take it at your own pace. It's a lot slower. It's a lot more methodical. Your movements around the map actually mean something. Now we're just sprinting from point to point, tactical sprinting through forests to kill AI and take a point and then run back to the one we were just at. And that's the loop. When the update comes out, I want to see how it feels playing as like a normal player and not a boosted fucking creator account, because I think that's going to be very, very telling. Maybe I'm completely off here, but all I can do is go off of what they gave us, and what they gave us is not indicative of what the actual update is going to feel like. So when it comes out, this video might be completely outdated. But as of right now, those are my thoughts on the current state of Greyzone Warfare Winds of War Update 0.3. I ran into some bugs and other issues, but I don't think that's relevant in an early access title. We're going to run into issues. We're going to run into the performance stuff. Like, it is what it is. I'm not even mad at it. What I want to focus more on during these videos and during these updates is the actual design philosophy, the design, the core gameplay loop systems that they have and that they're putting out for public consumption. And I think right now, based on what I've seen, they're kind of missing the mark. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. If you've played the update, if you've watched other people play the update, what do you think? If you're consuming Greyzone Warfare content, let me know your thoughts. My name is BigFry. Thank you guys for watching. Use code BigFry at gamersubs.gg for free shipping all this week. And I'll see you on the next one.